All right, now that the ticketing app launch context is fully reviewed, let's move in and power through these last two here again, just to really drive these points home for you. So I'll go ahead and expand the roof repair context out here. And let's just start again by dragging over that up next section, and we'll loop back to that here at the end. And then moving through my tasks top to bottom. So finalize material selection. Let me click and hold to fully expand that out. And you can see here, next step, no further action required. You may remember that earlier in the lesson, I wrote that note down and said that I would come back to it during the weekly review. So I want to elaborate on that just a little bit. The idea here is that during the course of the week, if you fill out this next step, maybe you complete it. Let's say down here on April 29th, I met with my wife, I picked the weathered wood, and I emailed Cole. So at that point, there's no further action required. And in real time, I like to leave myself this note that says no further action required, because as I'm going through and doing this weekly review, particularly as your planner grows and you're tracking more and more things in here, you might not fully remember. And you might be sitting there thinking, hey, was there a next step? Was there anything left that I needed to do here? And that's just wasted time. If you can save yourself even a few seconds or even a couple of minutes of time having to think about it by leaving that note to your future self in real time when the context is fresh, it can be very, very helpful. So you'll see here when I expand this out as I'm doing my weekly review, I left this nice note to myself here that no further action was required. This was all done so I can instantly move on and just not have to even think about it. Let's move down here to this next task, sign over the insurance check. Once again, I'm going to click and hold to fully expand that out. And I'm going to see this beautiful note that I left here to my future self, no further action required. So there's literally like zero thought required for me on that. I'm just going to keep moving, and I'll go down here to the prep the house, click and fully expand that out. You can see here on April 30th, I left a note to myself that the deck was cleared, and another nice note here, no further action required. So that's beautiful. I had a great week, got everything done that I needed to. There was no follow-up tasks on any of these. So those are all closed loops, and I'm good to keep moving. So let me jump over here to my new weekly planner and take a look at the up next section that I pulled over. I do have an item there, which is to actually schedule the installation. So I'll go ahead and pull that up above the up next section there. And once again, I'll place my cursor on that line and hit Command Enter. Again, I think if you're on Windows, that's Control Enter. Sorry, I haven't used Windows in like forever. So if you're on Windows, I apologize. You'll have to verify that. I'm going to tab over, nest a bullet under that, and hit double semicolon and select my new task entry. That's going to give me my next step, log, and resources. And up here, I'll just make this a bit more specific. Email Cole to schedule the installation. For this, the next step is self-evident. So I'm not always going to enter a next step here if it's very clear and this is a very simple task. Don't feel like you always have to have this filled out. I'll fill that out in real time kind of as this progresses. Maybe I email Cole, and once that email is sent, my next step may turn into waiting to hear back or send some new dates because none of those worked. You get the idea. For now, I'll leave that blank. And that is it for the roof repair context. So I'll come back over here and enter my visual indication that that context is processed. You can experiment with different ways of doing this. Again, I have created a text expander. So I just type the word check, and there you go. I've got that nice colorful indication that that is all done. So let's move through the team leadership context now. Let me go ahead and expand that out and pull over my up next section, and we'll loop back to that in just a minute. Schedule the pizza party. So let me fully expand this one out. It looks like this did not get done, and let me take a look at the log. So I spoke with Steve. We decided that we will reimburse the developers after the fact. So this was related to the whole like international payment logistics thing. We have developers all over the world, and so conducting pizza parties is a lot harder than I wish it was. But I've now that I've figured out the payment logistics, it looks like I left a note to myself. Now that payment is figured out, get this scheduled for Friday. So once again, this is an incomplete task. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull the whole thing over. And I've got my next step, get this on the calendar for Friday. Maybe make this a bit more obvious. So schedule pizza party for Friday at 12 p.m. Okay, I'm good to go there. Let's move on to the next one. Perform quarterly check-ins with the team. I'll click and hold to fully expand that out. And I said process key takeaways. So let me come back over here, give myself a new line with a to-do, process key takeaways from quarterly reviews with team. Come back over here, click here to collapse this back down. Again, I want to show you how quickly you can do this once you've practiced it a few times. So click there, escape, shift down twice, and move those over. So again, that may seem like a tedious process the first couple of times you do it, but practice those keyboard shortcuts because really that makes the whole thing a whole lot quicker. So process key takeaways, I've got my next step implied up here. So I'll leave that blank for now. And as I continue to work through that again, I'll use that next step to kind of park what's coming after. All right, finally, we've got our last one here. So review support process change brief. Let me fully expand that one out. You can see here in my log, April 30th, reviewed the brief and provided my comments. Next step was waiting for Mark to implement the changes. So let me add a to-do here, and I'll just say check in with Mark regarding support process changes. Back over here, collapse those down, hit escape, hold down shift, hit down twice, grab all those and move them over. Okay. Waiting to hear back from Mark. So that all looks fine. I'll go ahead and collapse that down. And you can see this context has been fully reviewed as well. So that's it. We have gone through all of our contexts and we have gone ahead and set a clear set of to-dos for ourselves for the week. And in the next lesson, what we're going to do is come back through and talk a little bit about how I use filters to narrow down views and give myself a little bit of an easier time throughout the course of the week, choosing what I might work on at a given time.